Thank you, Mr. White. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. Hope everybody had good holidays, Happy New Year, and here we go. Introduce yourselves, please.
Happy holidays, Kwame Barty.
Denise Schultz.
Michael Mercier.
I'm Joshua Faraday. I'm the Conservation Administrator.
Sandy Slavin.
Carol Melanson.
And this is Josh's first new meeting with us. Welcome, Josh, and would you like to introduce yourself to the people who are watching us?
Sure. I'll save you the time and the boring details, but a brief history about me. I've been on the Lakeville Conservation Commission for just about 5 years now. I was working in the town of Falmouth as their assistant conservation agent, and now I am here. So.
Welcome. So we are going to be doing a few things differently. We're going to ask that the applicant speak first, and then Josh will read the field reports and we'll ask our questions. But Kwame, would you get us started with the first hearing, please?
Yes, let's see. Notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. On Wednesday, January 4th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. on request for determination of applicability for Russell Motto, JC Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538, to construct a single-family home on existing foundation, install a natural seawall driveway, install a water line, and all associated landscaping located on Assessors Map 119, Lot 512, Shangri-La Boulevard, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. And who's here to represent this project?
Good evening, Brad Bertola with JC Engineering.
So you're up first to...
I do. You're making us work now.
Can we have the plans, please?
Yes, I have a plan. Not knowing how you guys did it in the past, am I responsible for bringing all the plans?
Do you have any
Typically,
copies?
we file a number of plans at the time.
Okay.
They were sent out electronically.
Yes.
No, but I didn't bring my
Oh, iPad.
Usually I have a paper.
Yeah, so
I have a copy.
Is that okay?
if you wouldn't mind, thanks, Brad. Okay, I will know that
Sorry,
moving
Brad.
forward. There is a big push at Town Hall to go more electronic and have less paper, so we'll work around that.
I will bring my laptop next
Yeah,
time.
because I know the site.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, again, Brad Bertola with JC Engineering. Before I get going and before it's mentioned, I do apologize that the site was not staked out due to the
Yes, but I didn't make it over there today.
complex, due to the time
You
holidays.
didn't even have to admit to that, Brad.
I figured you would bring it up. So, again, this project is an RDA to construct a single-family dwelling on a existing lot at 12 Shangri-La Boulevard. As you can see on the site plan, almost the entirety of the project is outside of jurisdiction, outside the 100-foot buffer zone. But we are proposing a small amount of grading and a small boulder retaining wall in the southwest corner of the property. It's more triangular shaped. It counts for about 500 square feet of the property to kind of provide a little backyard to the proposed house. The area, again, of the house, the septic system, driveway, utilities, all of that is located outside of jurisdiction. I don't believe any spot on the property is actually within approximately 60 feet, but we are providing a greater setback, and we should have a erosion control barrier shown around the bottom of the slope between the grading and the limit of work.
Okay, thank you. Josh, anything to add?
No, I will mention that a majority of the septic components were actually outside of the 150-foot buffer as well. And I will mention that the silt, the erosion control barriers are actually depicted in a way that's actually better, with the ropes being sideways instead of laying flat on the ground. Other than that, I would recommend the issuance of a negative determination.
What, number 2?
Yeah.
Kwame, questions?
None at this time, thank you.
Denise?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions.
I have none, and I have to admit, I did not visit the site either. I can't tell you how many I've not visited in the last 12 years, and this is one of maybe 10. Okay, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to comment on this project? I'm seeing none.
Move to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close the
Second.
hearing. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. What would you like to do, folks?
Move to accept with a -2 and standard order of conditions.
Second.
Just -2,
Determination, right?
standard order of conditions for NOI.
Right.
This is just an RDA.
Oh,
Yeah,
never mind.
There's no conditions.
And just, Brad, before you start, see Josh for all the paperwork, and so let's approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500 is the vote. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Would you guys like the signature page now, or is that something you
We
wanna
tend to
just-
do it as, what's the best for your documentation?
Oh, yeah, you could have,
I
sorry.
have them all, so we could
We
do them all at
once.
the end, or we could,
We can do them all at the end.
perfect.
Okay. All right, next hearing, please. I believe you're here. So we're going to take 3 Apple Street, please.
Okay, it's notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of Wetlands, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass, on Wednesday, January 4th, 2023, at 6:30 p.m. A notice of intent for Jeffrey Shaw, Bracken Engineering, 26649 Heron Pond Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to elevate and renovate an
I think you
existing
got the wrong one.
cottage.
3 Apple Street.
Oh, sorry. I blame it on my glasses, you know.
Or
The lack thereof.
Lack thereof. Yeah. Sorry. Let's see. Here we go. Notice of intent for Jacob Gadbois.
That's it.
Okay. MacArthur Engineering Consultant LLC, 57 Eaton Road, Framingham, Mass. 01701, to construct a single-family dwelling located on Assessors Map 134, lots F109, 3 Apple Street, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. And who's here representing the project? Please identify yourself.
Yes, Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting, and
Jacob Gadbois, owner and builder.
Okay,
uh,
please
thank you.
present it.
I'm presenting.
Yes.
So I don't have an easel, but hopefully you can see
Oh,
this.
there is
There's
one
one
in the
there.
corner.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Defer to Brandon on
Great,
a lot of
thank
this
you.
one. So if you want to ask him to, maybe sit at the table.
Brandon?
Yeah,
Brandon, can you join us? I understand you're going to be discussing this one.
Okay, so the subject property is .54 acres, and there is a salt marsh at the back of the property. It's fairly level throughout with grass, shrubs, and some small trees. So the wetland was delineated back in September of this past year. And as I said, this is salt marsh beyond. The fringe vegetation is Phragmite, groundsel tree, eastern red cedar, some goldenrod and whatnot. And the Wareham River, the salt marsh is associated with the Wareham River. So on the property right now, there is an existing foundation. The concrete is out there, and there is also a small section of paved drive right near the roadway, as well as a lot of debris, trash all throughout in the back. There is an existing order of conditions that was obtained in 2004, issued by the commission in 2004, and by the previous property owner, who I'm assuming had wanted to build a house. He got as far as putting the foundation in, and who knows what happened, but, oh, he died, okay, he passed. So Jacob has since purchased the property, and is going to continue with what the original owner had proposed. So he's going to build up. I might add that the entire property is within the FEMA Zone AE, which is deemed a special flood hazard area. So it extends all the way like onto other properties, but it's listed at elevation 14 on the FEMA maps. So the proposed work is basically removing all the garbage, debris. A lot of it has been removed already. There's still, I think, a long way to go. So it is strewn throughout, and by the previous property owner. So that's going to be done. And then building up from the existing foundation, and then installing a natural, like crushed seashell driveway in this area. And prior to any construction, Jacob is going to install an erosion control barrier around the limit of construction.
Thank you. Jacob, anything to add?
Yeah, I would add that all the site grading is done. So really the only ground disturbance that is going to happen would be limited to driving a tractor back there and taking bucket loads of trash out of the buffer zone. So we're gonna tear up the grass a little bit, but we're really not gonna disturb too much earth in doing that. We've taken 3 30-yard containers of trash out of there. There's probably 2 more, one of which is probably inside of the buffer zone. Aside from that, I do not plan on doing any work inside the buffer.
So you're talking about the abandoned cab
There is
and a couple structures?
there's a cap, there's water lines, there's a lot of
Brick.
truck lights, rear tail lights. There's hundreds of them. There's lots of tires. There's quite a variety of.
It's a nice piles of bricks, if someone's
Yep,
interested
yep,
in bricks.
some of
But
those.
anything else?
Yeah, the existing foundation is below the required 14 feet, so we do plan on bringing that up when we do build, and we'll go through that with the building department as well.
And you'll be harvesting all the trees that have grown inside the foundation.
Yeah, the trees inside the foundation are going to go. There are some 6 to 8 inch trees in there.
Yes. Brandon, I understand you've got this project?
I did, I got this one, yes.
You have any comments to add to that?
I did, and I wrote them all down in the field notes. I'll start by saying that no certificate of compliance was obtained for that 2004 order of conditions. I don't know what you want to do with that, if anything. Yes, there's a lot of refuse in the buffer zone and within 50 feet of the salt marsh that I recommend be removed. There is a erosion control line / limit of work for what I'm presuming is the permanent work, as in that's going to be the limit of the lawn associated with the house. I recommended, and Jacob agreed, to put a note on the plan stating that the refuse would be taken out of the remainder of the buffer zone. I don't know how detailed you like the plan to be in that regard? Like, do you like a temporary limit of disturbance specifically for the cleanup, and then when that's done, then it's now a no-touch zone? Any kind of notes on the plan for that? So that's that issue. Then there's the issue of the foundation. The top of the concrete for the foundation's elevation 10.98. The base flood elevation for the entire lot is elevation 14. So what I recommend to make sure that the house that is built meets Massachusetts building code and the applicable FEMA regulations for construction in a floodplain, I recommend that a special condition which requires compliance with all other applicable state, federal, and local statutes, bylaws, and regulations be added. And that way, the commission can ensure that construction in the flood zone meets all those codes. Let me see, what else do I write? Yep, got that. And then there's the matter of the junk. So those are the two big issues. It was the foundation and all the junk.
Okay. Questions?
I have a few
Yeah.
things to add,
Yeah.
if I can. Have you spoke with the building department on what's gonna be required of that foundation?
Yes, so I do need to, I have to stamp it structurally,
Yep,
which is gonna take some doing. I need to get rid of the trees first, et cetera.
right.
So there will be some work required.
Do you know if it was put on footings, and is that
It does
now
have
required?
footings.
It does?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it does have footings, it does have rebar. How much rebar, we aren't sure yet. So I'm probably gonna have to get at it with thermal cameras to sort that out. But otherwise, it has a few cracks, but they're not structurally compromising cracks.
That you can see currently?
Yeah,
So there is a possibility that there's more cracks underneath what you can't see?
probably not, no. So the inside of the footing is exposed
Okay.
on the inside. So we can generally see most of what's there,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, those are the only questions I had.
Okay, Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
I was just concerned, and you mentioned that you're getting it all out of there, the trash that's all back there, the truck cap, there's a turned-over container of some type. There was a large circular cement area in the back. What is that?
All right, so when he poured his foundation, he let the concrete truck clean out 20 feet from the salt marsh.
Oh, good grief.
I managed to get some of that out. That's going to take a little bit of doing, but that's top of the list.
Okay. I was just wondering what it was.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, I mean, you know, obviously there's hoses and all this other stuff back there. You said you're getting rid of all of that. And then you're pulling everything out of the no-activity zone, if I'm reading this right? So everything is going to be cleared out of the no-activity zones, and then how are you going to delineate that area?
So the buffer zone, we'll put a straw wattle straight across.
No, she's
No, I
looking for a
mean,
more permanent.
More
ones.
permanent thing, so that people know that they're not supposed to be back in there. Any type of fencing you're planning on?
No, not really.
I think you might be talking about two different things. You're talking about our 30-foot no disturbance zone, and I believe you are referring to the 100-foot buffer. Those are two different,
Okay.
Okay, the
different areas.
no-activity zone is what I'm concerned about, that people know that they're not supposed to be back in there.
That would
That's
be
30.
way up high on the plan.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
way
Right.
Right. Their proposed limit of work disturbance is that straight line that goes right across behind the
Right.
house.
So
Usually
so
there's
if you-
some type of delineation that's put in so that people know not to go back in that area.
markers.
Rocks or
Yeah,
markers
yeah, I could
of
put some
some type.
markers at that 30-foot line. That's,
Okay.
yeah,
all right.
and I'll add that to the plan as well, if you like.
So
Well,
we,
that could cause confusion, though. If you put in markers at the 30-foot line, somebody might think that it's okay to create a lawn all the way back to the 30-foot mark when
yes, they can.
they can't, but they show the limit of disturbance much closer to the house. So it's a little confusing.
All right, I mean, we normally say we ask you to adhere to the 30-foot no activity zone.
So you could put the pheno markers at.
Well, then my recommendation is put the permanent limit of work at the 30-foot mark then. That way,
Yes.
there's no confusion in
So
the
we're
future.
looking for boulders or a fence of something to say 30 foot.
Do you accept those pheno markers, those, they're just stakes?
Well, something that wouldn't get tripped over or recognized or wouldn't go away. Something to, the order of conditions will be written in such a way that it indicates that a permanent marker be placed there to identify the 30-foot no-work zone.
Okay.
Whatever that might be, I think we can leave it up to you, just that there has to be delineated that, hey, because you can't put a canoe or anything in because you're up against the marsh, so there's no water to access to, and we just don't want anybody disturbing that section any more than it already is. So clean it out and then no more touching, is my understanding, right, Denise? Clean
Correct.
it out and then no
No
more.
more touching back
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, I would want to do boulders in that case. That way it's, something
Excellent, thank you.
somewhat organic and
Yeah.
permanent.
Won't rot like a fence would.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Anything else, Denise?
Nope, that was my concern, thank you.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions, and thank you for cleaning it up.
You're welcome.
Oh, I love the tractor, by the way.
I found that in the buffer zone.
What is it?
Beautiful.
He put a tractor with a reef on it.
Oh,
And he's got a camera on it too, don't you?
Yeah, it's an early 1900s International Harvester. It was buried in thorns back there.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
pulled it out, and I'm like, might as well put a wreath on it, right?
It's really neat.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience like to comment on this project? Seeing none,
Move to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the
Second.
hearing and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed. Someone like to take a crack at the
Crack
order of
at it.
conditions?
Move to accept the project, standard order of conditions. The site grading is already done, so there'll be no real disturbance to the back area other than to remove the trash. Note on the plan to remove the trash, et cetera, and change the marking for the no activity zone. Special condition to include all compliance with Massachusetts and local restrictions. And was there anything else?
Boulders.
Oh, boulders, yes, to delineate at the no activity zone.
That is the motion in front of us.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed,
Aye.
abstained, 500. You got it. Please don't start anything until you get the paperwork from Josh.
Thank you all very much.
Project.
Welcome.
And Susan, good luck going to the next meeting.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you mentioned something about a no compliance for the 2004. Do we have to do anything about that?
It's up to you. If they sell, that's going to be a
Yeah,
clouded deed.
well-
You do have the ability to enforce a certificate of compliance if the order conditions expired and they didn't receive it. You do
Okay.
have that ability, but the thing is, now they're getting a new order of conditions that's really going to supersede it, so it's not
Okay.
like that big of a deal. But it becomes a big deal when the new owner eventually sells and it clouds the deed, and everybody's looking at the 2023 order of conditions, and then suddenly a lawyer finds one from 2004, and it messes up
Well,
the...
why didn't that come up when this was sold? Someone didn't do the...
Oh, that
This
happens
was auction,
all
wasn't
the
it? This was an
time.
auction, wasn't it?
No, it was sold, and it did come up. I was aware that there was an order of conditions that had expired,
Okay.
but I planned on
So
getting...
then should he
when
be
they're
asking
getting-
then for a COC on it? Or, what is it?
Certificate of
Order
compliance.
of compliance on it?
So Brandon
Was it
did
out?
recommend that it was, they did come looking for it originally. Your standard conditions do have language about if the order expires, they should come forward for a certificate of compliance. I'm not sure if that was a standard condition back then, but it is definitely one now. Again, you just issued a new notice, a new order of conditions, so like Brandon said, it's more of a supersedence.
Okay.
It's not
So,
really a.
I don't know if you
an
want to do
issue that you
anything
need to worry
formally
about.
to close it out or not, but you know, you're aware of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say when you finish this project, I would request both of them.
perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's anybody here for the Jeffrey Ringer, or the Scott Green, or the Ryan Lacaro, they have asked for a continuance. So we will hear the next hearing on Jeffrey Shaw, please.
Yes. Thank you. Notice of public hearing pursuant of the provisions of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, January 4th, 2023, at 6:30 PM. For the notice of intent for Jeffrey Shaw, Bracken Engineering, 26649 Herring Pond Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to elevate and renovate an existing cottage on a foundation located on Assessors Map 5, Lot 1013, 11 Bridge View Lane, Wareham, Mass.
And who's here representing that project?
For the applicant, my name is Zach Basinski, professional engineer, Bracken Engineering.
Could you
So-
spell the last name, please?
B as in boy, ASINSKI.
Thank you.
So again,
Okay, Zach, it's yours.
all righty, so here on behalf of Jeffrey and Melanie Shaw, as mentioned, 11 Bridgeview, existing developed single-family house lot. Existing structures on the lot were built back in 1920 and 1925, according to assessors records. Existing three-bedroom, single-family house, and then this outbuilding cottage on the property. So Mr. Shaw and his wife purchased the property back in 2019 and are looking to renovate the little cottage on the property. Because it sits in the AE flood zone, 6 inches too low, it's required to be elevated. So we spoke with the building department. We need to meet the FEMA flood zone requirements, so we're looking at raising the structure, elevating it up, and then installing it on new sonotube footings. Most of this work would be done by hand or a small machine on the property. Again, it's right at the outer limits of a 100-foot buffer to a coastal bank. Coastal bank was based on 92-1 and is just a pretty manicured lawn at this point. So access down would be down the existing driveway, through the 30-foot no-touch zone, across that area, and then back up to the property. The existing house and an existing retaining wall prevent us from staying outside that 30-foot area. We do have a demarcated silt sock or cape wattle to be installed along here, and then this all would be restored back to existing conditions at the end. So again, we're looking to raise the structure up to 6 inches, install the sonotubes, blocking the area with cinder blocks, and then install flood vents in accordance with the FEMA requirements. And with that, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Josh.
Yep, so I did a site visit. Their construction access is probably the best, even though there is a right-of-way to the, adjacent to it. But there, like he said, there's some fence, there's some vegetation that would need to be removed. I think the way that he has it is the best way for construction access and construction equipment storage as well in the driveway down there. Other than that, I don't have any concerns with this project.
Kwame?
Yeah, I don't know, but what is the height requirement for the raise for the level for that house and that? Is that a building requirement, is 6 inches, or it should be higher, or?
We're required, it's an AE 15 flood zone, and we're at 15.6 right now. We have to be at 16 minimum. So we've got it set up at 16.2.
Oh, 16.2.
Yep. That's 1 foot above the base flood.
Okay. And my next question is for the future, for the no-touch zone. That's like what Denise will probably ask, what are you going to do in the future for the no-touch area? Are you using like nothing, or are you just going to restore it the way it was? Are you going to put a boulder or fence or?
Historically, this is the access up here, so there was no intent to bring this back. I mean, we could talk with Mr. Shaw about putting in a small landscape area down across the bottom through here and trying to remove some of that manicured lawn, and then from that.
Yeah, that's lawn all the way down
Yeah.
from the parking lot to the
Historically,
water,
that's-
so there's really no touch zone to be established because it's already lawn
Yeah.
and and it's right away for the neighborhood.
And it has
Yeah.
a dock or something like that in the
Yes.
back there, too.
Yeah, historically, it's already been touched. So,
All right, thank you.
Denise?
I don't have any questions. Kwame took them on me.
Michael?
Same thing, Kwame took them already, thank you.
First out of the gate.
Carol?
No questions, thank you.
What does it mean, underneath the house, there is a stone wall fence leading to a door underneath the house. Will that be modified?
I do not know what you're talking about.
I peeked through the, what do you want to call it?
Through the little hatch.
lattice?
The lattice.
Yeah, underneath.
So this is the main structure, not the.
Oh, the main
proposed-
house, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not touching anything on the main house at
Okay,
this
so
point.
that stone wall will not be affected by this at all?
No, we're not touching that
Okay.
wall or anything at that point.
All the work is on that little cottage that's up in the left-hand corner of the property.
Okay, thank you. Anybody in the audience would like to speak to this project? I'm seeing none.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed.
Move to accept the project with standard order of conditions.
That's it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Zach, you got it? Just see Josh before you start any work for that paperwork.
Will do.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Same here.
The next hearing has asked for a continuance, but we need to open the hearing.
Okay, so notice of public hearing, and this is for Jeffrey Ringer, correct?
Yes, 16 Candy.
Okay. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, January 4th, 2023, at 6:30 PM. Notice of intent for Jeffrey Ringer, J.C. Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass., 02538, to add an addition to an existing single-family dwelling located on Assessors Map 78/2, Lot 128 and 129, 16 Kennedy Street, Wareham, Mass.
And they've asked for a continuance, and it's a good thing it wasn't staked.
Correct.
It's not.
And while we were there, we noticed a dock up on the marsh, so there will be an order of enforcement made for that, and the neighbor next to it, and all the ones along the river that you can see. So there's going to be some reviewing along Sippacan River for everybody who put their dock up on the beaches, marshes, so, right?
That is correct. There are a lot of enforcement violations.
There's a lot, also stones, like a jetty that they were building underneath the dock. Did you notice that?
I didn't see that, but they did have a fire pit, right?
That's in the
So
wrong
there's
place,
there's a lot of issues for this
Violations there.
site, so it's been continued. I need a motion to continue.
To what date, though, did they ask?
We'll just do 2 weeks out, so our next meeting,
What is that?
18th, I
14,
think?
the 18th, correct?
18.
Move to continue to January 18th, 2023.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. So we're continued until the 18th. And everybody on Sippacan's going to get a surprise. Next hearing, please.
Okay, notice of public hearing, notice of public hearing pursuant of provisions on Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, 131, Section 40, Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multicultural Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, January 4th, 2023, at 6:30 PM. Notice of intent for Louis Mary Cockery Coastal Engineering, 260 Cranberry Highway, Orleans, Mass. 653 to repair the foundation of the boathouse and repair and improve the erosion control structures across 3 properties located on Assessors Map 38, lots 136, 138, 139, 10, 14, 16, River Terrace, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you, and who's representing this project?
Good evening, my name's Cole Bateman from Coastal Engineering Company. I'm a professional engineer.
Cole?
Bateman, B-A-T-E-M-A-N.
All right, Cole, tell us about the project,
Sure
please.
thing. Hi, so yes, this is 3 residential properties adjacent to each other along the Crooked River in Wareham. The project consists of 2 main components. It's repairing a failing foundation of a boathouse that's pretty blatant. There's about 4 inches of separation between the foundation and the bottom of the structure, as well as severe cracks in the foundation walls. And then there's also a adjacent concrete or CMU block retaining wall, which has failed along with the boathouse. And then there's deteriorating retaining walls across the 2 remaining project sites. The resource areas included in the project are the land under ocean, land subject to coastal storm flowage, salt marsh, coastal beach, coastal bank, and riverfront. The proposed access for the project is from the upland at 10 River Terrace. There's a driveway here. The retaining wall generally consists of gravity block retaining wall without tiebacks or mechanical anchors, so it's the least damaging to the environment that we could come up with for the design. These 3 homes are pre-78 structures, so they could, and they are located on the coastal bank, so hard structures are within their regulations, whether or not they could be permitted with this project. Let's see, wanted to talk about some initial comments were raised regarding fill. We calculated it's about 125 cubic yards of fill that would be proposed to grade up to the new height of the wall. The retaining wall is going to be about the same height. However, the existing structures on the site, the existing stone structures are toppled over, so it's hard to come up with a clear top of wall to match. So we're proposing elevation 7, and then the site's, the grading will be graded up to the wall to allow for drainage. Let's see. We received a letter from DMF I wanted to go over. We reached out to DMF because a portion of the limit of work right in this corner, we're showing it just touching mean high water. And I believe since that would be land under ocean, we've requested comment from DMF. They had some comments regarding the salt marsh and then the wall extending past the current wall location. The reason why we're doing that is for constructability, as well as to construct a cohesive wall between the 2 properties, one adjacent to the north of 10 River Terrace, and then the property included in the application at 16, which has a existing concrete wall. The blocks that we're using would require to be interlocked together, hence the linear geometry of the wall, and that's kind of the best thing we came up with to be constructible with working with the contractor. I suppose that I think our goal tonight is to go for a continuance at the end. We wanted to present the project. We have not heard back from NHESP. I think that would be a requirement to close the hearing, but we wanted to hear the commission's comments to address them as best we can.
Okay. Josh?
Yep, so I do have some concerns about the project. Your currently proposed wall seems to be quite a bit further than the current wall that's there. You would be taking coastal beach and potential salt marsh out in order to gain more lawn, which has historically not been allowed by this commission. So I think maybe pulling the wall back would be appropriate to the extent of, or just a little bit in front of the old retaining wall.
Okay, could we talk about that a little bit? So there's a few different retaining wall types across the property line. There's more established walls towards the north, where the boathouse is, Currently, we're proposing the block wall goes in front of that, and as part of that, that's part of the project where it's it's proposed in the salt marsh. We believe the salt marsh is there because of the retaining wall. It's not allowed the dune to deposit sediments to restrict the salt grass from encroaching to the wall. This is a coastal dune, but it's not providing nourishment to these areas, hence the salt marsh. And then also over here, towards the middle, we have, it's kind of hard to see on this, I can pull up the existing conditions plan, which is the back of this. We have toppled over fieldstone walls.
Yep.
And it's really difficult to find a common spot to start the wall there because of just how inconsistent it is. So perhaps we could work with the commission to come up with where the best location would be to have the wall. But it is difficult to kind of find a starting point and then bring all the walls together.
Yeah, that's probably mainly because of the construction on how the wall is constructed.
Mm-hmm. You mean the proposed wall type?
The proposed wall, yeah. So that is one concern I know the commission will have. So for the new grading, it appears that you're going to be removing a lot of vegetation. Is there any plan of replanting any of that material? Specifically where you want to put your concrete steps, there's a lot of vegetation between that and the existing structure.
Yes, I'm sure we would have to do some replanting, and we could come up with a planting plan when we come back for the next hearing, or sometime at some point.
So my next concern is just looking at the town GIS. It appears that it almost appears that part of the road layout runs behind those three properties, and then you have the Parkwood Beach Improvement Association against that. So it would be road layout, somewhere where your wall is proposed, and then south of that is the Parkwood Beach Association lot.
So,
okay, so if we're looking at the plan,
yep.
Your proposed wall looks like it's potentially over a road layout of some kind. I haven't found a subdivision plot, so I'm not 100% accurate on that. But it appears that there's also Parkwood Beach Improvement Association lot within the salt marsh.
Okay.
So if that is the case, which I believe it is, you're going to have to get some type of, what I would like to see is a plan with the lots laid out.
Okay, perhaps we could talk further about that one, because it's not something I'm too familiar with at this point in the project.
Okay, yeah, we could discuss that later, but if that is the case, you're going to need approval from them to do any work on their property. And if that is part of the road layout or community access, you may need some type of approval from the town. And then, not really part of this project, but the timber float that is within the salt marsh is not allowed. And I know the commission will want to see that removed.
Sure. Can I speak briefly to that point? And then I do have Mrs. Corkery and her son Jeff Corkery who could come up and speak on it. I'll start it off, though.
Okay.
So that structure was constructed, or was brought there about 50 years ago in 1973. And at the time, they had permitted it through the Harbor Service permit as a raft. And then it does not have a Chapter 91 permit. We looked that up. We could not, a license. We could not find that.
Sure.
However, it's to the best of my client's ability, they've tried to permit that the best of possible. They've kept up with the Harbor Service permits year to year. They had one filed for this year. So this is the first time they would be made aware of it's not legitimate.
Yeah, so if you could submit those permits to us, I'd like to review those.
Sure thing.
And the way that it is stored, I imagine that's not how you use the float.
No.
But the way that it is stored is not appropriate.
Yeah, and they do acknowledge that.
So
That was purchased in 1973. My name's Jeff Corkery.
Sure.
I was 11 at the time.
The
My
floats
father bought it.
itself,
He bought it from Burr Brothers in Marion. We transported it down on the water, and it's been there ever since for 50 years.
okay.
No one's ever complained about it. It is not a permanent fixture. It floats on the water. It is attached with poles that go into the muck in the bottom.
Yep.
And then they come out at the end of the year. It's floated back up there on a full moon high tide. It is above the marsh line, and it is sitting on sand and like woodland area where it starts right there. Is that where it's not supposed to be?
It's within the resource area, so I believe the commission in the past has determined that's not where things should be
Well,
stored.
like I said, it's been there for 50 years. It hasn't damaged anything. The grass grows right back as soon as we float it out there in the summer, at the springtime to put it out.
This is something I'll defer to the commission on.
Okay, fair enough.
But that, I know from, from our regulations,
So when my father went in 1973 to Town Hall here to ask them what kind of permit he needed, they said, oh, well, it floats. We'll give you a floating dock permit. And that was the assumption that that was okay, and they've issued it every year since. So the only permit we currently have is the latest one, which is number 40. It started out as number 10 when he first got it, because I was with my father when he got issued the first permit for it. Is that not legal?
I would like to review them before I give you
They're on file here at Town Hall, and they started this computer system that tracks moorings and
Yeah, I'll
docks.
send them this, and then they can review it.
And that's, it says it started in 1993. It did not. That's when they computerized the system. So
Okay.
So that's their basis for it. But
yeah.
there have got to be previous records. I don't know if
But
they
we're
still have
going
them or
to,
not.
we are going to continue so we can have, if you get that
Yeah,
information to Josh, we'll have a response at
Okay.
the next
I would
meeting.
say submit that document. I can talk to the current harbor master. He may have more information on
Okay.
this, and
Fair enough.
we'll see where we can go from there.
Yep.
But
Sure.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add before I ask the questions?
no, that's all the concerns I had, and I know there is a plan to continue and probably get a revised plan to us. So if you want to discuss more parts of the project, we can do that in the coming weeks.
Yes, and thanks for joining. We were looking for a pre-app meeting at the start of the project, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get one unless we hired a consultant, so this is a good way forward here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kwame, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Denise?
Josh brought up a lot of my concerns. 5 feet out into the water is not going to work. You can't take 5 feet of public property. Pull it back.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not past mean high water.
You can't go 5 feet out in and just take property.
Oh, I'm sorry, you talked about I thought you were
The
talking
wall.
about the salt marsh.
Yeah, the wall.
Yeah, like I said, from the GIS, it appears that there could be some type of public access behind those lots. And then it definitely looks like there is the Parkwood Beach Improvement Association lot further down.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
So-
that's, I'm sure our survey department is going to find that just as surprised as I am now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, can I also request a copy of the letter from the DMF?
Oh, yeah.
I have that. I can forward it to you.
And we should get the ESP one
I need
hopefully
to see that.
sometime.
Are you going to address the chain link fence at all?
It'd be probably, it's integral with the retaining wall now, so it'll be part of the project as well, yeah.
So it's going
yes.
to be removed and replaced, or?
Yeah, something along the lines, if not part of the top of the new retaining wall, yep.
All
Okay,
of that was built in 1938.
doesn't make it right.
Surprised it's still standing,
It's
to be
still
honest
standing
with you.
there.
And
What's
that
my other one?
boathouse is kind of an emergency situation. It's ready to fall onto the beach in front of it.
Okay, and I
Yeah.
do need some clarification on what a floating dock permit is. I've never heard of
Again,
it.
this is something I'm unfamiliar with, so that's why if
Got
you
it
could,
right here.
if you
You
could
can have
submit
it.
it to
Yeah.
me, and I could review it with the harbor master, he may have more information.
And there is no Chapter 91 associated with this, correct? Okay. I'll wait for the next meeting for anything else.
Michael?
Same here, I'll wait till see the revised plan on that. Thank you.
Carol?
No questions at this time?
I do have in front of me the letter that Nicholas sent to Dave Bichette on December 7th, asking for some emergency work on the boathouse. Did you want to talk about that?
Sure, I think at that time we were asking whether.
Sorry, for the rest of the, would we be able to perform a temporary shoring within the footprint of the existing boathouse without the need of a conservation approval, because they're very concerned about that boathouse collapsing? I believe that was the request.
Yes, thanks for bringing that in. Nicholas is my full name, Cole is what I go by, so I
Oh,
apologize for
so
the
it's-
confusion there.
okay.
That was me. Yes, and we asked the commission at the time whether or not we could do some emergency shoring if it came to it. However, we're hoping to not expedite, go through the process in the time frame where we would not need to do it. However, it's easy enough to go in there and put up some cribbing if needed. And I think the answer to that question was in the affirmative, saying that we could do it at the time. Hopefully, the commission still agrees with that determination.
Yes, I don't have a response. I just have Mr. Buckland asking me, how do you want to handle this one? So I don't know if you had a discussion with Mr. Bichette before he left, but I don't think we would have an issue with you doing some shoring to prevent that boathouse from absolutely breaking in half and collapsing. It's just a temporary until we come up with the final solution of this particular project.
Precisely, yes.
Does anybody have an issue with a temporary storage, shoring of that building?
As long as it's just a shoring and not goes beyond that.
Yes,
Same here.
No problem.
so I guess
Yeah,
put up what you need to keep that building from
yeah.
falling in any further.
Actually, and do you mind if I kind of extend off of my commentary before? To that point, there are some building code implications to this project. I'm a structural engineer, that's what I usually do. I'm just assisting here. But this structure is pre-existing non-conforming to the FEMA regulations. It is in a velocity zone, so if we do more than 50% of the repair or
The
replace-
value of the house, it's another, yeah. you
Yeah,
gotta
we'd
do
have to
something.
raise it, and essentially the garage would be made non-useful. So that's one of the design criteria where we're trying to
Yep.
kind of straddle for this project.
And that's probably another department, not us.
No, it's not. I was just letting you know why we're coming up with the wall in front.
Okay, so then, is there anybody else would like to comment on this particular project? I'm seeing none.
But what I understand about the Parkwood Beach Association, they own the marsh. And they own the marsh all around Parkwood.
Yes.
It's not a house lot or anything like
No,
that.
no, no.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
it's the
Right.
property along the water's edge,
Yeah.
where your float happens to be stored.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, so I think it would be appropriate, your plans, I do not believe, currently depict those lot lines. And if your new structure is within their property, you would need something in writing from them saying that they approved the project, or you need to pull it out of their property.
They definitely have to, historically, we have not permitted new walls to be built to add to their front lawn. Historically.
We're not trying to extend the front lawn. It's
No,
because of
it's-
Hurricane Bob, what happened, the water came up over that little stone wall and washed that whole basement out.
And yes, but, sorry, what you're planning is to install a wall so many feet away from the existing stone wall, right?
Okay?
And we're saying that's too far away, bring it in closer to the stone wall, even if you may have to remove part of the stone wall that has fallen in order to make it a better link between the two edges that you want to connect to.
Yes.
But, so we're going to continue into the 18th. Will that give you sufficient time?
It may,
Well, if
Josh should
not-
probably have a meeting between now and then. Hopefully, we can fit that out, but we could continue it from that hearing if,
And if we have to
Yeah.
continue, we
Yeah,
continue again.
yeah.
So that, I need a motion to continue into the 18th.
Motion to continue the 18th, January 18th.
Second.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. We are continued until January 18th.
thank you very much. Have a great night.
Good night. Thank you.
Cole, give me a call and we can set up a time to meet.
Great, I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a request to continue Scott Green. We'll take until, a motion to continue until the 18th.
Motion to continue until the 18th.
Second?
I have motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We're continued into the 18th. We have a request for Velarco Let's continue into the 18th.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? We're continued until the 18th. Now it's up to Josh to do all these certification of compliances.
Sure. Stone Ave, anyone here for the certificate of compliance for Stone Ave? Sure.
So Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering on behalf of Sue Ann Murley. We don't usually attend these for certificates of compliance when we're asking for a positive vote, but happy to answer any questions. I think she voluntarily wanted to plant some blueberry bushes at the beginning of the project around the existing shed, and that's the only discrepancy that we noted. You know, I actually, you know, I went out there a couple times. The first time I went out, you know, she just needed to finish the stairs and the facing on the deck, but so everything is in accordance with the plans. I think, you know, it's wise not to plant blueberry bushes right up against that shed because you're going to have to paint it and maintain it, and, you know, it's just going to be a hindrance. So yeah, we respectfully request the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Sure, and I'll agree, if you guys recall, this was continued from our last meeting because no one had done a site visit. The only concerns I have, which really aren't conservation concerns, were the unfinished staircase and the railings on the deck.
Did you still see that?
Yeah, with that being said, the post for the railings are already installed, so they're not gonna have to do any digging to do those. And then, you know, just some extra information. In Falmouth, we normally wouldn't allow any plantings within 10 feet of a structure to allow for maintenance of the structure. So, without the blueberry bushes, which again were an added bonus, I guess, to the project, I do suggest that you issue a certificate of compliance for this one.
That is, so that be the motion?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay.
Thank you. I'll stay for the next one if
Are
need be.
you Pine
Pine
Tree?
Pine Tree Drive, sure, the pier.
Okay. So I know you were working with Brandon on this one, is that correct?
Well, you know, we did our normal due diligence. We did an as-built survey and an as-built plan. He had gone to the site. He was here at the last public meeting. And so, you know, I think his concern at the time was having the proper height, 5-foot minimum at the high tide line for the lateral access. So I did go out there a couple of weeks ago, and I, you know, just looked at the tide chart. I made sure it was, you know, close to high tide. And so what I found was there's like 5'3" at the high tide line. But I understand what he was looking at because the signs that are required to be placed on or near the dock identifying the lateral access, they're closer to the house than they need to be. So where the signs are that say lateral access allowed, you got 4 feet, and then, you know, you walk down about 25 or 30 feet to the actual high tide line, and it's there. So, you know, the owner is willing to move the signs. It's one of those neighborhoods where seemingly almost everyone has a dock or a pier, and there's no real, you know, it's not the type of area where you would get public walking back and forth under all those structures, but, you know, not a requirement. It should be done at some point, but, you know, it's not really a big deal for that, so.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then I believe his other concern was that the dock itself was 6 feet longer. We talked about this. You said it was 4 feet extra landward, 2 feet extra seaward. It still is under the 200-foot bylaw limit. I would recommend an issuance of a certificate of compliance.
Any discussion?
I really don't like when things aren't built to plan, but
Well, just to,
I
so,
mean-
the approved plan, it was 152 feet plus or minus from mean high water, and the as-built is 154 feet plus or minus to mean high water. And so, I mean, to me, that's within the tolerance. We can stake on the land, where the first set of pilings needs to go, and we typically give a back range line so that they get the range correct. And so I think, 2 feet for the actual end of the float, 1 or 2 feet. I think that's certainly, it's,
I mean, you know what I'm saying.
yeah, sure. But, so, to me, it shows an obvious intent to conform with the plan, and you're within 2 feet out of 152 to 154, versus, well, we went one more set of pilings, let's say 15 feet or something. So I think it's something that I believe is reasonable to say that the commission would have.
Just keep getting more and more of these, they want certificates of as-built instead of certificates of
Yeah.
compliance.
Right.
If this is 2 feet, give or
Yeah,
take, but
I've
I
been
know.
involved in those. This is not one of those ask for forgiveness
I know.
situations. This is just us being, forthcoming, just meeting our obligation to identify the things that we're supposed to. I will say, on a positive note for the commission, and I didn't pick up on it really, and it's not something that's mentioned in the letter, but, so the approved plan for the float was 10.5 feet by 25.5 feet, I believe, or 24.5 by 10.5, and so it was built just a little bit smaller. So it's 10 by 24, so it's a whopping 16 square feet smaller than what was approved. So I think we did a good job of identifying the things that are different, but we still, strongly support the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
2 feet, give or take, is not that big of a deal. It's just,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you want the
It's just-
consistency
You want to
of
be
the
consistent
plan.
of following their plans when they submit these things. And we're not going to take it out on this person, but it's just getting to be more and more common with what's coming forward. I mean, if you just look at the next things that are coming before us, everything is as-built, not that it was built to plan.
Yeah, to me, it is built to plan as far as that distance from mean high water.
Right.
Yeah, and I think a thing to be concerned about is people might start making their plans, let's say even a little over, to say, oh, no, we didn't go further, we're actually a little less than what you wanted, and, they will not conform to the site plan, but it will be a little less. And then, so you're almost, making a compromise with engineers to say, just plan everything just a little bit longer than you want, and then they'll pull it back. This is not so far out of conformance that I think the commission
No,
should
you're
have an
right
issue
on
with
that.
it.
It's just, as I said, we're seeing more and more of this, and it's just,
Understandable.
All right.
My suggestion is, again, the issuance of the certificate.
so move, so
Have
moved.
that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstains? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Next one, Neil Sullivan at 7 Groveland Street. Anybody here for that? Come on up, please.
I always feel like a principal when the kids come in. I always feel like the principal's office.
Good evening, Brian Grady, GAF Engineering. I'm just here to see if there are any comments, questions, or issues regarding this.
Sure. So this project was to install a garage where a previous garage had stood. The project was completed to that conformance. The only modifications that were noted were a trench drain and dry well that was preventing storm runoff from the street down into the front of the garage, and a small retaining wall which would be on the rear left side if you were looking at the front door of the garage. I believe that retaining wall was to minimize grading in that area. Ultimately, that seems like a better scenario than just having some slope there. So my recommendation would be an issuance of the certificate.
The retaining wall doesn't go into any areas it's not supposed to be in?
No, it's really just to prevent a slope and keep the sidewalk from eroding, the little path there from eroding.
Yeah, there's an existing walkway there that previously existed.
Okay, what's the pleasure?
Move to accept or issue the COC.
I have a motion.
Second.
I heard it second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 500, approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is Gary Osmond, 18 Maritime Drive. Anybody here for that?
So this was an order of conditions for the raise and reconstruction of a single-family home and septic system. When it came before the commission, I believe Dave had some concerns about some plantings that were on a coastal bank that was right behind the previous, I'll call it a cottage. So the planting plan is, the plants have been planted. The septic system is stabilized, and where it is, where the house is located, actually required the septic to have I think it's annual and then biannual testing and maintenance with the Buzzards Bay Coalition. So they're working with them to have that system tested annually.
Is that the one with the very special birth cake
Yes, I believe
layering
so.
and stuff like that as a test condition to see what it does with the nitrogen out of it?
Yes,
So
that's correct.
Okay, I remember that project, yeah.
So, from what I could see, the plants were planted, the construction of the house is complete, and the site is stabilized. So my recommendation would be to issue a certificate of compliance for this project.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
500. COC is approved. Next one, please.
So this is 12 Kennedy. I would say that the work conformed to the order of conditions. There are a few notes that I would say are up to the commission if they would like to see them on plans moving forward. A few things that were left out of the plan were the propane tanks, the air conditioning unit that was next to the house. Those are things that in Falmouth we would require on the plan before issuing the certificate. But I guess it's pretty much up to the board what they would like to see. So I would suggest issuing a certificate of compliance, but with that being said, there's also an enforcement that needs to be handled at this
Ta-da!
property.
Pass it down, please.
This is 12 Kennedy. We briefly mentioned, I'll call it the de-dockening of Kennedy Street. So there's gonna be a few enforcements in that area, but I think that should be handled outside of the issuance of this certificate. I would recommend the issuance.
So I would recommend the issuance on a condition that those two structures being for the air conditioning and propane tanks be added to the plan so that we have it as a permanent record. So, but once you can get that plan updated, I think we can approve it conditionally.
Yep, so what I would suggest is I will reach out to the applicant, have them added to the plan, but what I think you should vote tonight is to issue the certificate upon the receipt of those updated plans.
So
There-
moved.
So that's the motion.
Second.
And a second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. See, that's the dock on the beach, another dock on the beach. People on Sippacan are not going to be happy.
Well,
Because that's
they're
both
not following the
houses.
rules.
And if you were to look at the picture, you can see 4 more in the same,
At
down
least.
along, at
Yeah.
least. So, now, is there anything you want to discuss? We talked about, one of the things that David did was that the deadline for submitting plans for the next hearing was Thursday after this meeting. Josh wants to change it to the deadline being 2 weeks before the meeting being Wednesdays, right?
Maybe not so much for revised plans, but what I would like to see is we close accepting any new projects at our previous meeting. So 2 weeks before the meeting, we would stop taking
Okay, so
any new
new plans.
projects.
So that's Wednesday, 2 weeks before our next meeting, we stop taking the plans. And I like Josh's idea that we do not get revised plans on the day of the meeting. Revised plans are to be received by the Monday before the meeting.
Yeah, I would even say they should be, I would say even earlier than that. I would say they should be a week before the meeting. A revised plan should be submitted a week before the meeting. That will still give you guys the ability to see the revised plan and do your site visits over the weekend.
So deadline 2 weeks before the meeting, revised plan a week before the meeting, not at the meeting.
Can I do a happy dance?
Oh, please.
So, yeah, that,
I would,
Nothing to vote on, it's just that these are changes that are
Yes.
going to be occurring. and
right,
it's-
that's more of a Conservation Commission policy than anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with your approval, I will start to tell engineering companies that, we won't see any revised plans.
Do we need to vote on that?
A simple okay is fine.
Okay.
yeah,
So the under condition, we have the discussion of the visit to the Westgate property on Paper Mill Road in the rain? Did it continue to rain?
So, no one showed up. I did do a walk of.
I showed up,
Sorry.
come on.
Denise did show up in the rain,
I did. I
but
stayed in the car.
no one from the Buzzards Bay Coalition showed
I
up.
showed up.
Oh, okay.
So I did a little bit of a hike of my own. I do have some concerns about the property. There's some electrical lines down in the middle of one of the trails, and there's quite a few, I think what are termed as widow makers over a few of the trails. So I've been reaching out to a few people to see how we take care of those.
Okay, like Mr. Buckminster.
Yeah, it seems like he might be an appropriate person to go to. The Wareham Land Trust seems to, they are a co-CR app
holder,
holder. So they've offered, to maybe set up a cleanup day for that property. We did reschedule a site visit for the 10th at 1 PM. So,
Okay, and there's a lot of wetlands in there, so there's a lot of steps, bridges.
some of them are in disrepair. Currently, the Wareham Land Trust has a TerraCore person who is doing other projects on other properties. But maybe that is something we can get them to try to clean up.
Okay, the next one was how to address hybrid meetings. I know Denise has done research on it, and you've done the same thing, that just, we don't,
Yeah, it's, so Wareham TV is short-staffed and can't supply anyone. They're willing to train someone to do it. I don't feel that it's appropriate for any of you to participate in the meeting and be expected to run a Zoom meeting. Technically, we are out of compliance with the state, COVID restriction, but we are doing it right, and there is no negative enforcements against us not doing Zoom. So I think we'll continue the way we are.
come on down and introduce yourself. We have someone who might be interested.
Oh.
I have
So-
2 things, then when we're done.
Yep. Just say hi and,
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Autumn Wood. I am a lifelong resident of Wareham. I currently work for a pharmaceutical company, so I am exposed to auditing. I'm very well aware of how important it is for entities to follow laws and regulations and the implications of being out of compliance. My educational background, I have an undergrad Bachelor of Science in Geosciences with a concentration in natural resource conservation.
That's a mouthful.
Master's is coming next. I do have 3 more classes in my MBA with a concentration in sustainability and environmental compliance. That being said, I am passionate about the environment. I am passionate about my local community. I want to work to protect our land, water, and biological resources. So I figured the best place to start is in my own backyard, and that's why I'm here today, gaining exposure to our local conservation practices. So it's very nice to meet everybody.
Thank you,
I know
Autumn.
I've already met Sandy.
Yes, she's attended the open space committees and stuff like that. So listening to her education, I said, come sit with us and see if you might be interested, so.
She twisted my arm.
She's good at
When
that.
I wasn't in open space, must have been when I was absent.
You've sat through a meeting. Any questions for us? Do you want to sit through another meeting before you make up your mind?
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm very unfamiliar with these meetings. I'm very new to this end of environmental conservation, but I want the exposure, and I'm very much willing to do what it takes to be here and to learn if, you're willing to take me
And
under
if
your
you're
wing.
interested,
How
the
does she feel-
application,
How does she feel about eelgrass?
yes, the application, on the town website is the application to be completed if you continue to be interested. Yes, Denise is passionate about it, eelgrass, including even a 7-inch square attached to a piece of seaweed.
And that's part of the topic that we have to discuss after we finish with this.
Anything else, Autumn?
No, that's it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
When can you start?
I'm free the 18th.
Excellent. Welcome
Okay.
aboard.
Yeah, thank you
Would
guys.
she do any site visitations to get her feet wet, or is that something that she'd have to first put the application in and then?
Whatever, there isn't any law that's saying, but she doesn't have access to where the sites are yet.
Oh, yeah, understood, right.
And I've had people let their dogs out at me every once in a while.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I want my penny.
I try to take applicants out on a site visit with me once you've been approved for the committee to show you how I look at a site. So if that is, I do.
Oh, I thought we already voted for her to be on that committee already.
Nice try. I need an application. I need an application. Nice try. Nice try, Kwame. Yes, okay. Thank you. So you can sit and listen to us, and Denise has got a couple topics she wants to talk
Just a
about.
couple of questions.
Yeah. Should I stay right here? Should I go back to my?
You can stay there.
I did contact the DMF, is that correct? DMF? If I ever get their name right, it'll be a miracle. As to why those 2 reviews for docks in that area were so different. I have on
Which area?
8 Grace Lane and the one with the patch of eelgrass.
Oh, the one down on Cremisa.
Yeah, Cremisa.
Because we put in 2 docks already.
We put in 2 docks, and the
And we
letter
just
that we
approved-
received from DMF for the 8 Grace Lane was extremely different from the one that we received for the other 2. It was due to the eelgrass. And they did change some of their wording. I've heard from both John Logan, who Amanda works for, and Simi, the gentleman who did the very first one, worked for. For some reason or other, Simi no longer works for them. And both he and Amanda explained that the sighting of eelgrass was why the letters were different. It was a significant find in their eyes, to the extent that there has not been eelgrass in that area in the past. So that's why it was different. Also, I saw when I was out on the MACC website, we had been talking, or we talked about several months ago, putting together some type of information for people in the town. MACC has a packet that I'd like to take a look at and see what exactly the information is that is in it. It basically is things that people, town people, and realtors, and, you know, anybody who's looking to do something should know about the things that they can and cannot do. So I'd like to see what's in it in comparison to what our bylaws and stuff have. And it would, it's relatively inexpensive. You could buy it, you could put it up to be distributed where they have the pamphlets and stuff in the hallway now over at Town Hall, or it's something that we could send to realtors ourselves so that they have some
Or put it on our
information.
website.
Put it online, yeah. But as I said, I'd like to take a look at the pamphlet first.
Does the pamphlet cost money?
It's about 10 cents a piece, I think. is
For
what it
one?
was. No, was it 10 cents?
Can you get one?
That's what I want to know. I'm going to call and see if I can get a look at one before we order. It either was, it might have been 2 cents a piece. I thought I had the form here to order them, and evidently it's not here. So I will bring it to Josh's attention. But it was relatively inexpensive, but it looked like something like if we ordered some, we could probably run off even our own copies ourselves at some point if we had
Okay.
to.
Go for it.
Okay, and the other thing was, they have a rent an expert program through the MACC. I would like to look into that too and see if there's any cost associated with
A
that.
rent?
An expert. Somebody comes and talks to you, so they'll talk to you about eelgrass, they'll talk to you about, any topic that you would like more information on or that you don't completely understand.
Rent an expert?
Rent an expert.
Okay,
Okay.
interesting. All right, we have signatures.
Yes.
I
quite a
have
few.
5 order of certification of compliances and 3, 1 RDA and 2 notice of intent. So, okay, folks, get your pens ready, come on up and go right down the line.
These two as
Can
well.
you make me walk all the way around?
Yep.
Yeah, we just,
So if,
Want to pass them?
yeah, typically we just pass them down, but if we,
Okay, if we
No,
want
he's
to.
lined up, let's just go.
if I
We'll
just
just
line
go
up.
line up instead, yeah, all right.
We'll just go line up. We can walk.
before we do
Maybe we
that,
can
can
walk.
someone say goodbye?
Make a motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion to adjourn at 7:52.
Motion to adjourn at 7:52.
Second.
I have, and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
There we are, and here's 2 more down here.